Here are your solutions to the review for your final exam. And the hope is, of course, that you did it first and you're checking your answers or just getting support, but really trying to learn from the video and not just copy the answers. We have triangle ABC. So I'm just going to draw a triangle and I'm going to label it ABC. It says from A to B is 9, from B to C is 12, and from A to C is 13. And it says find angle B in that triangle. So if I want to find angle B, I first need to recognize this is a side, side, side triangle, which means we're going to use the law of cosines. So to find a missing angle, we're going to do inverse cosine, and we're going to create a ratio right here inside. Now, the first side has to be the side opposite of the angle you're looking for. So what side is opposite of angle B? It has to go first. Then we're going to subtract, and we use the other sides, but the order doesn't matter. So we subtract and square and subtract and square. In the denominator, we start with -2, and then again we use those sides 9 and 12, and order doesn't matter. So the only time I use the side opposite of the angle I'm looking for is the very first time. Otherwise, I use the other sides, and we need to be comfortable with the setup. Then we go to Desmos. So if you need to, press pause. I'm going to show you Desmos. You got to make sure when you click the wrench that you see degrees highlighted. All right, now that degrees are highlighted, I can press cosine and the exponent -1, and then inside I'm going to have a ratio. So that's 13 squared, subtract 9 squared, subtract 12 squared, and then in the denominator is -2 times 9 times 12. And I'm just going to round it to 75 degrees. All right, next one, triangle DEF. So again, I'm going to draw a triangle and label it DEF. So D is 30, F is 50, and then E to F is 5. It says find the side length of D to F. So I'm going to call that X. That's what I'm looking for. And then I'm going to see what kind of triangle is this. So this is called an angle, angle, side. That tells me what law to use. I'm going to use the law of sines. So I need to know an angle and its opposite side to create a ratio. So we're going to go sine 30 over 5. The only other angle I know is here, but I really want the angle opposite of x for the ratio. So is there a way to find that angle? There is. So if you add all three angles in a triangle, they always add to 180. We're going to take away 30 and take away 50. And then what's left for the angle up here is 100. And it's important because it's opposite of the side I'm looking for. So now I'm going to type or write sine 100 over x. To get x by itself, we're going to multiply. So I'm going to go 5 times sine 100. And then I'm going to divide to get x by itself. And that's what I'm going to type into Desmos. So again, if you need to press pause and type or follow what I'm doing, here's Desmos again. And again, I'm going to start with a fraction. I'm going to go 5 sine 100. And then in the denominator is sine 30. I'm going to round that to 9.8. All right, another triangle, XYZ. So angle X is 43. X to Y is 8. X to Z is 5. And we're trying to find this side here, which I'll call little x. And I want to recognize what type of triangle this is. So this is side, angle, side. And because it's side, angle, side, I recognize it's the law of cosines. So for the law of cosines, to find a missing side, we start with a long square root sign. And then you pick a side and you square it, plus pick another side and square it, subtract 2, and we multiply them, those two sides we have, 8 and 5. And then it ends with the cosine of the angle in between them. And then that's what I'm going to type into Desmos. So if you type the letters SQRT, you get a square root sign, and then it's 8 squared plus 5 squared. Oops, that's not a plus sign. So plus 5 squared. Subtract 2 times 8 times 5, and then the cosine of 43. And I'm going to round that to 5.5. All right, we have another triangle, FGH. So we go FGH. Angle G is 25, angle H is 58, and F to G is 35. And it says find length this, GH. So again, we're going to start and recognize it's an angle side. So as we rotate through, recognize the type of triangle we have. If you said side angle, it's the same thing. And that means I know a side and its opposite angle. So already I know it's a law of sines. So I have an angle, sine 58, its opposite side is 35. I'm looking for x, so I need to know the opposite angle to where x is to set up the ratio. So again, I'm going to go 180, take away 25, take away 58, and get an answer. So I'm just going to go quick to Desmond. My brain doesn't want to do that right now. So 180, take away 25, take away 58. I get 97. So now it's sine 97 over x. Now we're going to multiply. So we have 35 times sine 97 divided by sine 58. So when you multiply, the number that's with x is what you divide by. And then we're going to type that in. So again, we're going to type in 35 sine 97 and then divide by sine 58. So I get 40.96, so you could round that to 41. All right, some stories. 2 cars leave the same parking lot at the same time. The first car travels a distance of 30 miles. The second travels 50 miles during the same time. The angle the cars make with the parking lot is 20 degrees. So we have a parking lot. We have one going in one direction. We have another one going the other direction. This is 20 degrees, the angle they make. And it says A has gone, the first car has gone 30. And then the second car I called B, it has gone 50. And then what is the distance between the cars at that time? So we recognize it's a side angle side. It's a law of cosines. So press pause. See, do you know how to set this up? We're learning, right, while watching the video. So that's 50 squared plus 30 squared. Subtract 2, and again 50 times 30, and then cosine of 20. That's the setup. All right, now type it into Desmos, see if we get the same answer as I do. So again, I'm going to go SQRT. So 50 squared plus 30 squared. Subtract 2 times 50 times 30, and then cosine 20. So that's about 24 miles. And that's what I'd write down. The 2 cars. Oh, let me show you. The 2 cars are about 20 miles apart from each other. All right, let's read the next story. Press pause if you need to. That's the word two, T-W-O. You should read it first and see how you do. To measure the height of a building, Andrew measures the angle of elevation to be 28, then walks 10 feet closer, and then the angle is 40. So here's my building. So the first angle to the top of the building is 28. Then he walks 10 feet closer, and then again measures to the top of the building, and now the angle is 40, and we want to find the height of this building. So I want you to recognize there are 2 triangles here. So we have a triangle on the left, one on the right. We actually have a big one, but we're not going to work with that. So the left one and the right one. So there's one side that's shared by both. I'm going to call that X. This side here. I want to know what the length of that is. So we're going to do some geometry, and then we're going to use a law. So two angles that make a line add up to 180. It's called supplementary. So if I go 180, take away 40, this angle must be 140 because it adds up to 180. Now I know two angles in this triangle. So now I'm going to go 180, take away 140, take away 28, and see what is the answer left there to go up here. So 180, take away 140, take away 28, and I'm left with 12. Now that angle 12 is important because it's opposite of the only side that I know. So I'm going to go sine 12 over 10. Now what angle is opposite of x? It's not 140, it's actually 28. So we're going to go sine 28 over x, and we're going to solve this. So that means I'm going to multiply 10 times sine 28 and divide by sine 12. And I'm going to type that in the calculator. So I'm going to type that in. Oh, let me show you Desmos while I do that. So 10 sine 28 divided by sine 12. I'm going to round that to 22.6. So now that I know that's 22.6, I'm going to go back to this to solve for h. So now I know this side, and now I have a right triangle. So I am looking here. Here's my angle. What I want is the opposite of the angle, and I know the hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse is sine. So I'm going to write sine 40 equals h over what x is, which we said was 22.6. Then to get h by itself, we multiply. So it's 22.6 sine 40, and then type that into Desmos. And I get 14.5. So the height of the building is 14.5 feet. Let me show you. All right, turn the page. All right, now some graphing. Again, press pause if you need to take a break. When we graph cosine or sine, it creates a wave, and the size of the wave is the first number that you see multiplying. For the period, how long does it take to complete one cycle? We always start with 2 pi and do the inverse of what I see, which is to divide by 2. So the period here, how long it takes to finish one cycle, is pi. I'm going to draw a set of axes. And then I'm going to do my scale for my graph. So we have pi over 2, pi. These are like the corners of your unit circle. 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi. Same thing in the other direction. And now I'm going to graph. So cosine starts at the top. Oh, and then we have the wave. So it goes up to 3 and it goes down to negative 3. So it starts at the top, cosine, and then it follows a pattern. It goes to the top. Now at pi, that's the end of the cycle. So we have the top and the top. That's what this gives me. Then in the middle between those two tops, it goes to the bottom. And then in the middle of these, it goes to the middle of the wave. And there's the pattern of 5 points that I'm looking for. So I'm going to do that pattern again and follow the graph. I'm going to do that pattern again to the left and follow it. And then one more time. And then once I have the pattern, I'm going to connect and make my wave. So take a moment, press pause, see where the points are. It's really understanding a pattern and following a pattern. All right, let's look at the next one. Amplitude is the first number, but it's always positive. So the amplitude or size of the wave is 2. For the period, we go 2 pi, and we do the inverse of what I see. So the inverse of 1/4 is 4 to multiply, and you get 8 pi. And then we're going to draw a set of axes. And we're going to label the scale for 8 pi. So for that, it makes sense to count by pi. So I'm going to go 1, 2, maybe 2 pi. Let's do 2 pi. 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi. That makes more sense. 8 pi. And we'll do it that way. And the same thing negative. Negative 2 pi, negative 4 pi, negative 6 pi, and negative 8 pi. So our scale now works for our period. So sine starts in the middle. And then this tells me where one pattern ends. So I go to 8 pi and have the same y coordinate. In the middle, between the two ends, will also be a middle point. So sine starts with 3 middle points. Now, for our first 2 middle points, because this is negative, we're going to go to negative 2. And then I'm going to go to positive 2. And I'm going to follow that pattern. So we have a pattern of the middles, and then these first is going to go up to 2, and then down to negative 2, and then the wave goes down, and then up, and then down, and then up, and you did it. All right, I'm going to do a second video to finish off the review. Keep working, and you're studying while you're doing the video. So you're trying to learn as you're going. Mr. G Math, over now.